The days after the harvest were kind at first, painted in gold and quiet laughter. Nayeli's laughter drifted across the ranch like birdsong, soft and rare. Taya would run across the yard with her wooden horse, her small feet kicking, up dust as Elias watched with a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. For a man who once believed the world had nothing left to give, he found something worth waking for each morning. The sound of their voices, the way sunlight touched Nayeli's face when she looked at him. But peace was a fragile thing in the West. It never lasted long. One morning, as the sky burned red over the horizon, Elias rode into town for supplies. The stares were harder now, the whispers sharper. Men he'd once fought beside looked away when he passed. Some spat near his boots. At the general store, the owner hesitated before taking his coins. "You best be careful, Ward," he said. "People don't like what they're seeing out on that ranch." Elias didn't answer. He just picked up the sack of flour and walked out. But the words stayed with him all the way home, heavy as lead. That evening, he found a note nailed to his gate. "We don't want her kind here." No name, just hate scribbled in anger. Elias burned it without a word, but Nayeli saw the smoke and knew. She didn't cry. She'd seen too much of the world to fear its cruelty. Still, that night she sat by the fire longer than usual, staring into the flames as if trying to read her future in them. When Elias came to sit beside her, she said quietly, "If we stay, they will come." He met her gaze, his jaw set. "Then let them." She looked at him for a long moment, and something inside her broke and mended all at once. "You cannot fight the whole world, Elias," she whispered. "I don't need the whole world," he said. "Just the piece of it that keeps you safe." The next few days, tension hung thick in the air. The horses sensed it. Even the wind felt cautious. One afternoon, when Elias was out checking the fence lines, riders came, 5 of them, faces covered, rifles glinting in the sun. Nayeli was inside with Taya, humming softly when she heard the hooves. She stepped out, her heart pounding. "Where's the cowboy?" one of the men growled. Nayeli didn't answer. They dismounted, circling her like wolves. "We warned him. This is his last chance." One reached for her arm. Before he could touch her, a shot cracked through the air. The man's hat flew off as Elias appeared over the ridge, rifle steady, eyes cold. "You boys picked the wrong house," he said. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then chaos. The men scattered, bullets flying, horses screaming. Elias fired twice more, hitting one in the leg. The others retreated, swearing vengeance as they rode off into the hills. When silence fell, Nayeli ran to him, trembling. He was bleeding from a graze on his shoulder, but smiling faintly. "Told you," he said. "They don't scare me." She pressed her hand against the wound, tears blurring her vision. "You fool," she whispered. "You could have died." He looked at her then, really looked, and said, "Then I'd die with something worth dying for." The words hung between them like the smoke rising from his gun. She wanted to speak, to tell him how much that meant. But all she could do was hold him, feeling his heart beat thunder beneath her palm. That night the town buzzed with talk. Some said Elias Ward had lost his mind. Others whispered that maybe, just maybe, he'd done the right thing. But for Elias and Nayeli, the world had narrowed again down to the flicker of a lantern, the sound of Taya sleeping nearby, the quiet realization that love had found them in the ashes of fear. He sat beside her, arm bandaged, and said softly, "You could still leave tomorrow. No one would blame you." She looked at him, with a steadiness that could cut through stone. "You once told me kindness is love without courage. I think I found both here." Weeks passed. The town's anger cooled, the gossip faded. People had crops to tend, lives to live. Elias and Nayeli worked side by side, rebuilding fences, mending the roof, teaching Taya how to feed the horses. Life wasn't easy, but it was real. And for the first time in years, that was enough. Then came winter, sharp, beautiful, and cold. Snow fell like ash over the desert, blanketing the world in silence. One morning, Elias found Nayeli standing by the corral, her shawl white with frost. She turned to him and said, "When I came here, I asked for one night. You gave me forever." He took her hands, rough and warm, and said, "Forever's all I got." They stood that way as the sun rose behind them, the light spilling over the land like a promise kept. In the spring that followed, Clearwater Creek changed. Folks stopped whispering. Some even tipped their hats when Nayeli walked by. The old bartender told Elias, "Guess even the West can learn a little." "Grace." Elias smiled and looked. toward the woman hanging laundry in the breeze, her daughter chasing the chickens with laughter echoing through the yard. Grace, he said, isn't learned. It's found. As the years passed, the ranch became known not for scandal but for kindness. Travelers spoke of the Apache, widow who healed lost horses, and the cowboy who never turned away a hungry soul. Taya grew tall and strong, her mother's courage in her eyes. And on quiet evenings when the wind swept across the plains, Elias and Nayeli would sit together by the fire, watching the stars bloom above the desert. She would hum those old songs again, and he would listen, his hand over hers, heart steady and full. The world didn't stop being cruel, but for them it didn't matter anymore. They had carved a piece of peace out of the wilderness, proof that even in the hardest lands, love could take root and bloom. And though time would one day take them both, their story stayed whispered through the canyons, carried by the wind, retold wherever heart still remembered what it meant to be human. If this story touched your heart, partner, don't forget to subscribe to Old Whisper Stories, where every whisper carries the soul of the West. Hit the bell and ride with us again through tales of love, courage, and redemption beneath the endless sky.